If you're seeking advice from somebody on how they're doing something in a manner or in a way that you would like to do, you're seeking them out as a coach. But do they have a coach? Do they have somebody that they can turn to, that they can rely upon to go with the same questions that people are coming to them with? Everybody is more than willing, more often than not, to dole out advice, to share their experiences, to put themselves up on a pedestal, in a place of power or prestige, to make themselves look better. It's a fun place to be when people ask you about you, when people ask you for help.
What the hell's going on out here?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Fueled by Spite. As always, I am your host, Dr. James Taylor. Today's episode, I can do all things through spite, which strengthens me. This is a how-to. How do you do it? How do you do it? I'm asked that pretty routinely. I want to set the stage here. I want to read you a quote. This came across my desk, if you will, just the other day, and man, it hit home. It brought up wonderful feelings of spite. One mistake you should never make is to allow yourself to be recruited by someone to hate another person who hasn't wronged you. Only a fool inherits other people's enemies as a sign of loyalty. Man, it hit home because in so doing, in creating all that I have created and doing all that I have done, I have been asked on more than one occasion, how do you do it? I have also been asked on more than one occasion, hey, hate this person with me. And it never sits right. And nor should it. It should not sit right. You should never hate an enemy that isn't your enemy, someone who has never wronged you. And it sucks when that is asked of you. It really does. But I want to get into this, and I want you to keep that thought, that quote, kind of in the back of your mind, because it's man, if that's not spite as a receiver of the quote, as a receiver of the request to hate. If that's not fuel for spite, man, I don't know what is. Keep that in the back of your mind. We want to do this going forward. How do I do this? And I've done episodes on this stuff before. How do you do it all? And it's been the nuts and bolts things. It's been the schedule and the calendar and the affirmations, the daily journaling, which are all great and wonderful things and are all absolutely necessary in creating the life you want to live. But there's more to it. There's underlying things. There's becoming the person you have to become to do the things you want to do. So if you're a nuts and bolts person, and I absolutely am, I'm great at following direction and following instruction, provide I trust and have given credibility to the person from which the instruction comes. But if that's your thing, those are in previous episodes. By all means, go back and look for them. Heck, I might be able to even link those in some sort of show notes or description for you to go back to. Also, future pacing, spoiler alert, there might be free resources coming out detailing those exact things. Stay tuned. But how do I do it all? How do I do it all? And while doing so, how do I make it look so easy and make it look so good from my bias standpoint? Well, let's start with this. What if you're new to this? What if this is your first episode? What is it that I do? Who am I? I am Dr. James Taylor, chiropractor extraordinaire. I'm a husband. I'm a father to two badass kids, husband to she hates the word, but a boss bitch, just a world changer of a wife in Tamika Taylor. Like I said, I'm a chiropractor. I'm a business owner. In so doing, that means that I'm a marketer. I am a promoter. I am a copywriter. I am an editor. I'm a party host. We have events here at the office. What else am I? I'm a landlord. I am a boss. I am a mentor. I'm a mentee also. I'm a podcast host as I sit before you. Not only do I do this, I also do, you see these episodes drop every single week. I also do a live stream from the office here. I do that every week. I'm a content creator. Like if you check out the social media for Fueled by Spite on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, there's content all over the place. Now double that because I do the same thing for my office. These are all the things that I do. On top of that, like I said, I'm a mentee. I have plenty of people that I seek advice from, a little bit of both. Which leads us into our first thing. How do I do all this stuff? How do I do it all? And like I said, make it look so good, make it look so easy. I have an amazing team around me. First thing you need to do all the things is to stop trying to do all the things. You've got to get a team around you. Like I said, I have a world changer of a wife who has been damn near unconditionally supportive in all the crazy stuff that I do and that I go about. And she's doing her own stuff. She's got her own business going on. She's got her own things happening. I've also got coaches. What do I got here? I've got at the very least, I've got 4 coaches. So I've got Sean Dill and Lacey Book. They run Black Diamond Club. They're my business coaches, entrepreneurial coaches, mindset coaches. I've also got my own mindset coach. So these are calls that I have weekly with either the business coaches, with the mindset coaches. I've got a spiritual coach in Brian Hall. Sorry, mindset coach. Unforget Yourself. I strongly suggest you check that out. It is an incredible program. And like I said, I've got spiritual coaches. I've got people in and around me in my stable, if you will, to bounce questions off, to bounce ideas off, to help guide me, point me in the direction. I mean, hell, even just play devil's advocate. I want to do this. Well, what if it doesn't work? What if it does work? Actually, no, that's a really good question. That the coaches that you have, when you bounce these ideas off them, when you bounce off these grand plans and these grand schemes that you have, do they ask you, what if it works? What does the outcome look like if you get exactly what you want? Because there are plenty of people out there, especially in the world of spite, who will tell you, well, what if it doesn't work? I mean, hell, that's what this whole thing is based off of, is the ability or the want or the need or the desire to prove people wrong, because we've all got plenty of people who will tell you, what if this doesn't work? Well, then what are you going to do? Why are you going to do this thing if there's a risk of failure? Okay, well, yeah, that's fine. I don't need a coach to tell me what if it does work. But if you share your ideas with people and these grand plans and these schemes that you have and these desires, what if it works? What does that look like? What does your life look like if your thing works? God forbid, what if it works really, really well? Do you have a team around you of people to bounce those things off of? Next thing, self-study. How do you make this work? Self-study, a whole bunch of self-study. One of my coaches, Lacey, she says, self-worth takes self-work. And it takes a whole lot of self-work, analyzing your thoughts, your behaviors, the ones you had in the past. Do they still serve you now? Or if this stuff, again, if this all works out, what does that look like? Who do you become? Or who do you have to become for this thing to work out in the first place? A good coach will help you know you. And a wonderful little, not an aside per se, but just proof of this. So when you have these coaches, they're going to put on seminars, I imagine, or masterminds, or just other things that you should be doing and going about. And I was at one once, and they came up to me separate occasions, and I don't think in any way, shape, or form that this was planned, but they'd ask me like, "Hey, are you okay? You don't seem yourself." And in hindsight, there really wasn't. I was kind of overwhelmed and everything that was going on. But the fact that they knew me well enough to know something was off. And like in those situations, I would answer, yeah. And in that situation, I did, yeah, I'm fine, of course. But they knew something was up. There was actually once I had a patient who a day before I got sick, like I was feeling fine, and not like I'm a dude, I'm fine, but like I was feeling fine. But she just asked me, she's like, "Are you feeling okay? You look a little off." I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool." And then the next day, shit hit the fan, and just some little stealthy bug got into a situation in which I apparently provided a wonderful environment for it to take hold for 24 hours. Had to call in sick the next day, which I rarely do. But she knew me well enough to be like, "Hey, you okay?" Hell, the people around you, they can absolutely be your coaches if you are in tune enough, if you've done the self-study enough to actually listen to them. Again, we talked about spiritual study. There was So I've got a spiritual coach, Brian Hall, but also in the self study, in the Unforget Yourself program that I had mentioned, one of my other coaches. It's an awesome program. They've got this whole thing laid out on different areas of mental status that you might be going through, and they've got these exercises. His name's Adam. He goes through these things, and he had me do this exercise just the other day. And oh shoot, what was it called? Oh, it's called the forgiveness routine. And so in our call, it was like, "Hey, what did you think about the lesson? Lesson was good. I got X, Y, and Z out of it. What did you think?" He calls these things pause practices. What did you think about these pause practices? One of them was kind of just going through your daily routine and finding out where you're using your time wisely and where you're wasting it. And then there's another one that's called the forgiveness routine. And he's like, "What did you think about that one?" I'm like, "That one sucked." He goes, "Why did it suck?" Like, I don't know. I didn't even do it. He goes, "What do you mean you didn't do it?" I'm like, "I got 2 minutes in to the 5, 6, 7 minute recording, and just whatever it was, the way it was presented, the headspace I was in at the time that receiving the lesson, I was like, nope, not doing this." And I decided not to do it because I knew I wasn't in the right headspace to get out of it what I want to get out of it, or what I would not want, what I would need to get out of it. And it's funny because we were talking about this, and he goes, "In the past, what do you think you would have done?" "Well, in the past, I would have done it because you told me to do it." He goes, "What do you think you would have gotten out of it?" I'm like, "Nothing. I would have gotten absolutely nothing out of it because I would have bulldozed through it, and I would have done the things that you told me to do because you told me to do them." He goes, "So this might have been a blessing in disguise that you didn't do it." I'm like, "Yeah, there's some potential in that because I had the wherewithal to know that, hey, whatever it was that this thing appears to be diving into, I'm not in the right space to actually dive into it right now." Going along those same lines of self-study, I've taken different tests and different courses to find out how this thing, how my head works best, how I react or act in certain situations. And these are things where we've all taken them. Just the baseline is like a Myers-Briggs kind of test. And I have been, and I certainly still have the ability to be the type of person to understand what the test is getting at. And in so doing, I will answer the questions appropriately so I will get the outcome that I want. Well, that's a waste of time then, right? Because you're not getting the true results of the test. And in so you're not getting the true results of yourself. In the past, I would have blown right through that. And in the past, I've had coaches and friends who have been that person. And I was that person. So I can't look, I shouldn't look down on them. But at the same time, if they're putting themselves up on a pedestal as some sort of an expert to help others become better of themselves, then they should probably take a look in the mirror in that same regard. They should probably do a little self study, a little self reflection. Now, will I fall back on those habits? Absolutely. But I won't fall back on them 100% of the time because I've done the self study, because I know where I need to be to get the most out of these types of situations, these scenarios, these tests. And one of the things that has come through this self study in that same vein is to honor my own emotions. Now, again, in the past and more often than not in current and present day, I would take pride in the fact that I lived in the big three: happy, mad, sad. And then I would also just ignore that third one. So I could bounce back and forth between happy and mad. And I'd bounce back and forth really well. And I would make those things serve me as I saw fit. But I would also be ignoring just a huge swath of underlying thoughts or feelings that would better serve me had I just paid attention to them. So doing it more now serves me a lot better now than it would for me to ignore them. Last one here, asking for help. This goes back to the coaches. If you're seeking advice from somebody on how they're doing something in a manner or in a way that you would like to do, you're seeking them out as a coach. But do they have a coach? Do they have somebody that they can turn to, that they can rely upon to go with the same questions that people are coming to them with? Everybody is more than willing, more often than not, to dole out advice, to share their experiences, to put themselves up on a pedestal in a place of power or prestige to make themselves look better. It's a fun place to be when people ask you about you, when people ask you for help. And if you're the one giving out that advice, wouldn't it stand to reason that that would make you a little bit hypocritical if you were not also seeking out that same help? But how is this spiteful? How does this fit into fueled by spite? Well, it's easy because I'm doing it because you're not. I'm doing it because they're not. I'm showing you it can be done when other people refuse to do it. I don't need that. I don't need coaches. I don't need guidance. I don't need a team. Well, then you're only going to get as far as you can carry you. The fact that I'm doing these things, I'm going out and seeking guidance, seeking help, seeking advice from other people, that in and of itself, in my mind, for this particular episode, to suit me, is a spiteful act. I'm doing it because you won't. I'm doing it because you can't or because you refuse to. I had a guy somewhat recently, he's been in the chiropractic space for a while. He posted something just the other day talking about how he's doing it alone and how he's been doing it alone. He's been very successful. He posts a lot of pictures of his Porsche. But all I could think of is that, dude, there's no fucking way you're doing it alone. All this stuff that you're selling, that people are buying, you're doing it with their help. They're giving you the money. They're giving you the opportunity and the space to do these things. So just by the people that pay you money, you're not doing it alone. I mean, you might be the head of your company, if you will. But then I know for a fact that you've got people underneath you, your assistant coaches in a sense. You're doing it with them. You're doing it with their help. And you're definitely doing it with the help of the people who pay you money for your products. One mistake you should never make is to allow yourself to be recruited by someone to hate another person who hasn't wronged you. Only a fool inherits other people's enemies as a sign of loyalty. I don't know why I just said sign like that. Sign. So there are nuts and bolts things that you need to do. You need to have a schedule. You need to have a place to operate. You need to have simple daily disciplines, these things that you sit down and do routinely all the time. But there are things beyond that you need to do to make all this stuff work. There are things I have in place beyond me to make all this stuff work, to make my office run, to make my podcast run, to have these events, to do these streams and these lives, to put out all this content. This isn't done alone, but it still is 100% absolutely fueled by spite. Man, this was short. This was sweet. This was to the point. This was good. Once again, you will learn more here by accident than elsewhere by design. And you can say beyond a shadow of a doubt within this nice little chunk of time here, prior to coming into this, you were either an idiot or you were uninformed. Because of what I've done here for you, out of the gracious of my heart, you can at least say that you are no longer uninformed. As always, like, share, follow, tell your friends. Love to help them out along the way. Because if they do it alone, man, they're just going to get stuck. You guys have a great rest of your day. See ya.